This story begins with a single plastic bag. One bag that I got from my local grocery store to carry home a single container of peach yogurt. Once I got home, I shoved the bag in with all the other bags, next to another bag full of other bags, and I never really thought about it. Maybe I tried not to think about it. I mean, I'm an average guy. I'm not what you consider a tree hugger. I try to be informed, I try to do the right thing, but I find that it can all be a bit overwhelming at times. I live in a small town in Colorado, and it wasn't until my town challenged another town a few hours away to see who could reduce their use of plastic bags the most that I first started to think about plastic bags and what we do with them. I mean, we all have a lot of bags, right? Everybody does the same thing. We collect them, we shove them anywhere they'll go, like under the sink, into closets, junk drawers. We throw a pile away every now and then just to be done with them, because they're disposable, right? They were created to be thrown away.
But let's face it, there's a dirty little secret here, even if we won't admit it.
Just because plastic is disposable doesn't mean it just goes away. After all, where is away? There is no away. It actually sticks around for a really long time. That got me thinking about all the endless products made out of plastic. A lot of them designed to be used for less than one day. Heck, less than 15 minutes even. Once I began looking around, pretty much everything seemed to be made of plastic. Could all this plastic in my life maybe even be bad for me? So I started looking into it. The fact that it is everywhere, the way it doesn't go away, the way it pollutes, the way it flies and floats and drifts and clogs and entangles, the way it gets into things so big and so small, the way we can't escape it anymore, the way, eventually, we may not have any recourse. We'll all just simply have to stand up and say, bag it.
You know that thing when you learn something for the first time and then it starts popping up everywhere? Like, you meet someone for the first time and everywhere you go, there's that person. That was what it was like for me with plastic bags. They were everywhere.
Let me just say this. First of all, plastic is an incredible material. It's lightweight, it's moldable, durable, versatile, inexpensive. You can do amazing things with plastic.
In the 1960s, the idea of plastic being the wave of the future seemed like a bit of a joke.
I just want to say one word to you. Just one word.
Yes, sir.
Are you listening?
Yes, I am.
Plastics.
Exactly how do you mean?
There's a great future in plastics.
In retrospect, this scene seems less like a joke and more like a prophecy. We were fed the concept of disposable living. Life would be easier and more convenient. Why do the dishes when you can just throw them away?
Plastic is an incredibly valuable resource. It's something that really has a purpose in the society, and it needs to be used for that purpose. Petroleum is way too scarce and way too important to us to be thrown away as a plastic bag.
Plastic bags are made of polyethylene, which is a polymer made of ethylene monomers, which is made from, well, actually, what they're made from is a really good question.
The United States uses, roughly estimates are about 100 billion plastic bags per year. Takes about 12 million barrels of oil.
In North America, because we have an abundant supply of natural gas, they're predominantly made out of natural gas.
The key feedstock for making plastics is petroleum.
In North America, we don't use oil. We use natural gas.
Plastic bags are made of polyethylene. The building block is oil.
So what is it? Petroleum or natural gas? The bottom line is, They're made from fossil fuels, which are non-renewable resources. That means once they're gone, there isn't any more. Plastic bags as we know them appeared in grocery stores in 1977. And in this very short amount of time, we're up to consuming about 1 million a minute. World plastic bag consumption is estimated at about 500 billion bags per year. So how did we learn to shop like our grandparents did? I mean, we haven't always had plastic, right? What if we shopped using our bags over and over, old school? Some say that plastic bags have been singled out, that they become an easy target, that there are much bigger environmental issues out there. So why pick on plastic bags?
It would be great to come up with the real cost of a plastic bag, because that is the #1 consumer item in the world.
We are not going to use those little plastic produce bags. We have our own bags. Here we go. There we go. I'm going to use my own bag for some deluxe salted nuts. There we go. It's my nut sack.
Anne is the creative director at a newspaper. Thankfully, she's pretty much on board for all of this.
I'll see you later.
I like her. Plastic bags are being banned around the world. From New Delhi, India, and Bangladesh, where plastic bags were clogging storm drains and were contributing to severe floods, to the Kingdom of Bhutan, where bags were banned to better foster gross national happiness. In 2008, China banned ultra-thin plastic bags. It's estimated that in the first year, it eliminated 40 billion. In May of 2009, the state of South Australia banned plastic bags, hoping to set an example for the rest of the nation. Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya, Zanzibar, and South Africa have all banned ultra-thin plastic bags. Many countries and cities in Europe have either banned or placed fees on plastic bags. Ireland placed a fee on plastic bags and reportedly reduced consumption 90% in the first year.
What's the policy on plastic bags? Like plastic carry-away bags?
They're 22 cents.
22 cents?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a government policy. It's not actually a shop policy.
It's, all of Ireland?
Everywhere.
Do you find that most people, do most people not take them? They bring their own bag?
Most people won't take them.
How fast did you see a difference from when the tax went in?
It was instant. It was an overnight success as a campaign.
If you want to find out what people really think in Ireland, there's only one place to go. To the pub.
Plastic bags in bushes, plastic bags in the rivers, plastic bags in the canals, plastic bags everything.
Yeah, it has cleaned up the countryside an awful lot, big time, yeah.
A pint of Guinness doesn't come in plastic. Sloncha.
In England, the village of Modbury became Europe's first plastic bag-free town when the local merchants got together and decided to voluntarily do something to help protect their coastal environment.
We live 4 miles from some of the most beautiful coastline in the UK. What legacy are we leaving? It's really not to be quite selfish for the moment and to think about the next generations to come.
In environmental news, a top UN official is urging a global ban on plastic bags, in part because plastic is the most pervasive form of ocean litter. Achim Steiner, executive director of the UN Environment Program, said, quote, "Single-use plastic bags which choke marine life should be banned or phased out rapidly everywhere. There's simply zero justification for manufacturing them anymore, anywhere."
So what are we doing here at home? 30 rural communities in Alaska have banned plastic bags completely. In June of 2009, Washington, D.C. became the first U.S. city to place a fee on plastic bags. California has been at the forefront of the plastic bag debate.
San Francisco becomes the first city in the nation to ban plastic bags.
San Francisco, those ubiquitous plastic shopping bags are being ordered to get out of town.
People think, oh, San Francisco, a bunch of crazy radicals. We didn't want to pursue a ban. So we tried for a year to move forward with a fee. We thought that's the most progressive way to do it. It's the fairest way to do it. If you don't use bags, you don't pay.
But the plastic bag lobby of the American Chemistry Council quietly pushed through a law prohibiting charging fees for plastic bags anywhere in the state of California.
The plastic bag lobby basically pushed us into a corner through strong-arm tactics, backdoor deals in Sacramento with our legislature. We had no option. The predictions from the plastic industry was doom and gloom. You know, San Francisco will grind to an absolute halt. How can they live without plastic bags? In the 2 years since we've had it in place, not one single complaint in our office, not one.
After San Francisco, other towns in California tried to pass their own bans. The American Chemistry Council and other pro-plastic groups' response was to sue. They claimed it would just make people use paper bags instead, which would be even worse for the environment.
That totally works.
Even though city governments are being fought every step of the way, a lot of retailers have decided to take matters into their own hands. At Costco and Sam's Club, people have never been given bags. On Earth Day of 2008, Whole Foods became the first U.S. supermarket to completely do away with plastic bags.
Paper versus plastic, right? What do you do? And I guess tote bags are the thing that.
That's what I've heard on the streets.
You could get a nice tote to go with your sweaters.
Yeah, well, once I get my bedazzler and I could, really make it.
Oftentimes the plastic industry will say when you're making a choice between paper or plastic, plastic is the better choice environmentally. Plastic is very lightweight, it takes fewer fossil fuels to transport plastic, so what's left out of the equation, very conveniently, is what happens to our plastic when it winds up into the ocean. If that were quantified, and if that became part of the analysis, there would be no contest.
The eternal question, paper or plastic? How did San Francisco justify using paper?
The paper bags in San Francisco, many of them are 100% recycled content, and that means that no new trees are being cut down. Paper bags are being recycled at least 10 times more than plastic bags are being recycled. That significantly changes their environmental impact. So I think we have to really watch out for the lobbying efforts of the American Chemistry Council and other plastics industry. They're really trying to protect their market share and their profits. That's the bottom line.
So who is the American Chemistry Council anyway? Well, the American Chemistry Council, otherwise known as the ACC, with over 130 member corporations, basically protects the interest of plastics and chemicals. One of the ACC's branches is the Progressive Bag Affiliates. And the Progressive Bag Affiliates has formed groups with friendly names, like the Coalition to Support Plastic Bag Recycling. And then there's Save the Plastic Bag. You know, like Save the Rainforest, or Save the Panda, or Save the Manatee. Yeah, Save the Plastic Bag.
Just reading our emails from the plastic industry. So far, this many people have agreed to be in the film. If we're going to be more than one-sided, we need to hear from more than one side. And if one side won't talk to us, kind of problematic. Thank you. Oh, no bag, no bag.
No bag?
Thanks.
Okay.
I didn't bring a bag, but...
Would you like a bag?
No, thanks. I'm going to do it commando style.
All right.
See, you don't even need a bag for your produce. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like my lettuce loose, like my ladies.
Are you sure you don't need a bag?
No, I think I got it covered. I got it covered. I can do it.
Okay, great.
I can do this. Oh, thank you.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay. Got it?
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a good day.
People kept referring to plastic bags as this thing called a single-use disposable. Single-use disposable plastic. Think about it. Why would you make something that you're going to use for a few minutes out of a material that's basically going to last forever and you're just going to throw it away?
What's up with that?
From things like yogurt containers, yogurt tubes, plastic forks, plastic spoons. Don't even get me started on snackables, stackables, Lunchables, pizza on a cookie, to-go containers, all kinds of packaging created to be ripped off, then tossed off, sandwich bags, snack bags, candy wrappers, drinking straws, and of course, the big three. The three things that we Americans love to use and throw away the most: bags, bottles, and cups.
So I just went into a very well-known coffee chain, which will remain nameless. Let's just say that it rhymes with Marbucks. And everybody's sitting around drinking coffees and lattes and chais and soy mochas, and everybody has a to-go cup. The to-go cup is for things to go, which coincidentally has a little lining on the inside made out of plastic. Did you know that? Your cardboard coffee cup has a lining made out of plastic.
Let's take a disposable single-use coffee cup, of which we use 300 million a day. You drink the coffee in 10, 20 minutes. If it's a styrofoam package, that package is going to be around longer than the Statue of David.
Now we're being convinced by marketing geniuses that we're supposed to use to-go cups in our own homes.
Make every morning a good morning.
To you and you and you.
Make it a Dixie Day.
So we just found out some very exciting news.
Yes.
Didn't we?
Yes, we did.
We're gonna have a baby. We're gonna have a baby.
We're having a baby.
We're having a baby. Yay. Well, I'm a little freaked out.
Yeah, well, so am I.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And excited.
And excited.
And excited.
Yep. We better clean this place up. Pink or blue?
How about yellow or green?
Green.
Okay, let me just clarify something. When I said I was freaked out, I am freaked out, but not in a bad way. I'm very excited about having a baby, but I'm also freaked out about this whole plastics issue. You know, how it's going to affect our baby's health. I got to find out more.
Why should we make a cup or a piece of cutlery that you're going to be using for 5 minutes? Why should we make it out of a drop of oil that takes 70 million years to make? It's not making sense. In 1970, the United States was one of the largest exporters of oil. And here we are in 2008, and we are the largest importer of oil.
The sheer numbers of packaging that we're each individually responsible for are staggering. The average American contributes 800 pounds of packaging to the waste stream per person per year.
This is packaging rage, an affliction suffered daily by millions. Think about how ridiculous it's become. We package everything in plastic. Even things that are already perfectly packaged by nature come packaged in plastic. We package paper in plastic. We even package plastic in plastic. One single-use disposable item we can definitely avoid is disposable diapers.
It says buy cloth diapers instead of disposables and save up to $1,200.
That's good. That's the diaper right there?
It's beautiful,
It's
isn't
very
it?
stylish.
It's very stylish. It also says reusable cloth diapers prevent up to 1 ton of landfill waste.
So you have to throw them away.
You don't throw them away.
That's good.
You wash them.
All right, I'm in.
I've done several images on single-use disposable plastics. One of them is an image of 60,000 plastic bags, which is the number of plastic bags, sacks, and wraps consumed in the United States every 5 seconds. Plastic water bottles. That to me is another one of the most insane things in our world right now. There are 1.2 billion people, almost 20% of the world's population, who lack access to safe drinking water on a daily basis. And at the same time as that is happening, we're spending untold amounts of money and resources shipping tap water from Fiji to Miami, from the Alps to Los Angeles. So us rich people can have a choice of which water to drink out of a disposable plastic bottle. It's insanity.
Bottled water has now surpassed sales of beer and milk, and analysts think that within 3 years it may surpass soda sales. We go through the equivalent of 17 million barrels of oil making the bottles that are used in the United States each year. Making those bottles generates 2.5 million tons of carbon dioxide. They had hundreds of millions of dollars to spend telling us to drink more water. They used celebrities and models and used athletes so that their product was linked with wellness. Utilities don't have millions of dollars hanging around in their budgets to spend on advertisements saying, drink from your sink, our water will make you more attractive to the opposite sex. And so the category grew and grew, and in 2008 we spent over $12 billion on bottled water in this country.
What is plastic made out of? Do you know?
Not entirely, no. Plastic is made out of ground up snail shells.
I have no idea what the chemical compound is.
Plastic is made of plastic.
Plastic is made of yellow dye number 5. Oil.
Fossil fuels?
It turns out one of the biggest environmental consequences of making bottled water is making the plastic that makes up the bottle. If you were to fill any bottle about 25% of the way up with petroleum, that's the amount of oil required to make the bottle itself. But that's not the whole story. On top of it, we then have to transport it. If you're moving it a long way, it requires a lot more energy, maybe as much as another quarter. The energy content of the bottle is enormous, and it's an incredibly resource-intensive process.
It would be nice if people started to think of buying single-use bottled water like driving a Hummer, because it's basically what it is.
They don't necessarily do it this way in the rest of the world. Enter Germany, home of the Bratwurst, Beethoven, BMW, and Oktoberfest, bands. They also take the recycling of plastics very seriously.
I basically collect all the plastic bottles and just carry them to the supermarket, and you put them into this machine and you get a receipt back, and this receipt, it's worth money. And this bottle is getting used a couple of times. You can see the little marks on it, which says how often this bottle is in this recycling circle. And this one is 22nd times. They're getting cleaned, refilled, relabeled, and coming back into the circle.
So this is all the plastic that I've collected this year so far.
This is Beth Terry. 2 years ago, she decided to stop using plastic altogether. And whatever plastic she can't avoid, she saves.
These are like used spaghetti sauce jars, and so I just take them with me to the store. So there's sugar that I can get in bulk and lentils. I stopped using plastic bags because I just hate them. But Michael is a real conservation, use what you have kind of person. So he washes out the plastic bags that we already have. This is our bathroom. The easiest thing in the bathroom is just not to use liquid soap, so we use bar soap.
Beth uses an antique all-metal razor. She swears by it.
You need 3 blades.
But
you know
you
why?
don't
Because
need
the
3
first
blades.
blade pulls the hair out, and then the second blade pulls it out a little more and smacks it
You're
around.
a product
and then the
of
last one,
marketing.
it shaves it off.
You're believing with that commercial. When I was growing up, we didn't have bottled water. I mean, people made jokes about Evian being naive spelled backwards. I think that for me, it was the idea of harming other living creatures and other people and harming the planet. That's what really woke me up. Making changes in your own life gives you a sense of ownership. It makes you feel like we've got to do so much more. I've got to talk to other people. I've got to talk to my representatives. I've got to start writing to companies. I've really got to up my game. But I think it starts on the individual level.
When we started our film, Seattle City Council had already approved legislation placing a fee on disposable plastic and paper bags. But the American Chemistry Council found a way to stop them.
They dropped $200,000 into a campaign to get signatures to put the ordinance on the ballot.
By August of 2009, the ACC had upped their spending to $1.4 million.
So why would the plastics industry spend over $1 million fighting a bag tax in Seattle? Well, it's not all about Seattle. They worry about other cities and want to get the message out fast.
I feel a real responsibility as an American to stand up to these American corporations and say, we have a democracy and we have people who do care about the environment, and your mega bucks are not going to stop what we want to do here in Seattle to clean up the environment.
Free the plastic bags! Waste more, waste more, waste more!
I'm angry. They have no business being here. I want their hands off Seattle.
So nice to meet you.
So, I just want to say that we took on the most powerful industry in the country. Yeah. So, I think we won. Thank you so much for everything you've done. Keep on the good fight.
Every time we go and we buy something, we decide who we give our money to. This machine can stop as soon as we decide to say, no, I do not want that plastic bag. I do not want to buy your stuff and throw it away.
So here's a recap of the basics. The way I see it, bring your own bag, bring your own coffee cup, bring your own water bottle, oh, and bring your own brain. Consider less packaging. Go single-use free for a single day. Start there. Become aware of your habits. It's not as easy as you think, but guess what? It makes you think. Ice cream doesn't come in plastic.
More. We must have more.
So it seems like in this society, we like to consume. And a lot of the stuff that we like to consume is made of plastic, or it comes in plastic. Well, once we're done with that, where does it go?
And when you get more.
We put our garbage at the end of the driveway, and the sanitation crew comes and picks it up, and it goes away. Where's away? You know, there is no away.
If you can imagine Yankee Stadium as a Tupperware container, we fill it 3 times a day with garbage here in New York City. And certainly a huge amount of it is also plastics.
You know, here we are in New York City. I've got my man purse, okay? This means that I can buy things and I don't need to take a plastic bag. Oh, look at that. Oh, sorry. Yeah, see that thing? Look at that. Okay, that is not wildlife, people. Okay, that is not nature. That's a plastic bag. Where's it gonna go? Where's that gonna go? It's a bit of a workout to chase them around. I don't have to go to the gym now. If I just say plastic bags to you in New York, what do you say?
We use them, they're a convenience for a couple of minutes, a couple of hours, and they remain an environmental burden for hundreds of years.
One of the biggest problems in the city is that we use about 1 billion plastic bags a year. People joke that the New York City flower is a plastic bag stuck in a tree. That's a bad emblem.
Hi, welcome to Wendy's. What can I get for you today?
I have a question for you. I'm trying not to use packaging, and I brought my own plate and my own cup. Is it possible to get it served on my own plate?
Hold on 1 second.
Thanks.
We cannot put it on ourselves, but we can give it to you and you can put it on there.
Me taking their food out of their packaging and putting it on my own plate sort of defeated the whole purpose. So I decided to try Taco Bell.
I'm sorry, sir. We can't do that. That's called cross-contamination, and we can't take anything from the outside in.
Oh. Are you able to put a soda in my own glass, or is that
either? I can't take anything in the window.
cross-contamination? Okay.
It's not exactly true that they can't take anything through the window. They're fine taking our cross-contaminated money.
It could have something on it.
I'm sorry, you can't film here, ma'am.
According to the EPA, many of this country's landfills have been closed, either because they're full or because they're contaminating groundwater and drinking water. Things that go into landfills will be preserved forever. They say landfills will become our version of the pyramids. The average American produces close to 1 ton of waste each year, with the exception of this guy.
This guy who lives in this normal-looking house in the middle of Los Angeles, Dave Comitas, he's saving all his trash for 1 year in his basement. Everything, recycling and plastic.
I've got a wife and 2 kids, 4 and 6, and I have a ripple effect to my family and my friends. So I'm going to step out of the plastic bag cycle as much as I humanly can. And then I can sort of say to other people, look, I found all these ways around it. Now you take them on. I drink a lot of coffee. And the first week, you know, that bag that the coffee comes in, it can't be recycled. It's got too many elements in it. It's going in the trash, right? So I thought, well, there's got to be a better way. I just realized I can buy it in bulk. I can put it in one of their bags. I bring it home. I put it into a little airtight container that I had. And I fold up the bag and I bring that back the next time. There's no aha moment. Just sort of hacking away at it little by little. And that's how you can go a year and end up with 32 pounds of garbage.
Okay, I get this whole concept of using less and producing less waste, but with plastic packaging, can't we just recycle it?
I spent a lot of time in my book asking, is recycling doing any good? Is it worthwhile? Should we continue to do it? And the short answer is a resounding yes, yes, yes. It saves enormous amounts of energy to make new goods from old goods instead of continually pulling raw materials from the earth and transforming them, transporting them, and then sending them on this one-way trip to the landfill. For every barrel of waste we put on the curb, there are 71 barrels of waste generated upstream in making all these consumer goods. And every time we recycle whatever we can, we're chipping away at those 71 barrels upstream.
This stuff isn't recyclable.
That's recyclable.
No, it's not.
That's recyclable.
No, it's not.
You put it all in and they'll figure it out. There's the thing again. See? Recycle. Why would they put that on if you can't recycle it?
Right. Okay.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
Shouldn't be carrying stuff.
No, I shouldn't.
No.
Should I?
No, you shouldn't.
I truly believe people are recycling because I think it's the right thing to do. As soon as they get rid of it into that container, they never think about it anymore. I don't even think they know where it goes after it leaves our site. I don't know where it goes after it leaves this site. I think it could be a feel-good thing for people.
I have such a love-hate relationship with recycling because I love recycling in that it's sort of an on-ramp or a gateway drug to bigger, better environmental activism. But what I hate about it is it lulls people into thinking they're making a difference. You know, you buy this thing, you know it's overpackaged, but at least you can recycle it. You put it in that blue bin and it's like, ah.
This is recycling arrows.
Yeah, chasing arrow.
Yeah, it's a chasing arrow.
Yeah.
So most people would assume that that means, hey, I can recycle that.
Yeah, that was brilliant marketing on the American Chemistry Council, American Plastic Council's part. But they use that chasing arrow to make us all think that it's all recyclable.
Turns out there's no regulation with the recycling symbol. We've been duped into believing that all these products are getting recycled.
The truth is that really only a few of those numbers, 1 and 2, are highly recycled. Those other numbers are going straight to the landfill or the incinerator.
Okay, I've seen these numbers on the bottom of plastic before, and I always wondered what they meant. And now, the Society of Plastics Industry Coding System. Number 1, polyethylene terephthalate. Number 2, high-density polyethylene. Number 3, polyvinyl chloride. Number 4, low-density polyethylene. Number 5, polypropylene. Number 6, polystyrene. And number 7, other. I was feeling pretty confused as to which plastics could and couldn't be recycled. So I decided to put on a recycling challenge in order to find out if other people were as confused as I was.
And you know, I recycle, so I think I know things that should be recycled.
Here's your recycling bin, here's your trash can, and go.
Well, guess what? It turns out that everybody was pretty much as confused as I was, especially the bagpiper. For those of you looking for an easy answer, there isn't one. Every municipality across the country has different guidelines as to what they do and don't accept.
I know that the lid you can't. My wife taught me that one.
Good.
Do you recycle these?
Well, I'd be giving it away, wouldn't I? Yeah, you're pretty sharp.
The most common items taken are number 1 and number 2, but only the bottles. Currently in the US, recycled plastic bottles are not made back into new bottles, but are downcycled into products that cannot then be recycled, so they tend to get just one more life. Unlike an aluminum can or a glass container that can theoretically be recycled forever.
The plastics industry, they like to buy fresh out of the refineries plastic pellets that they can turn into really clean, high-grade material. So they don't really even want the recycled content back. Their only incentive in promoting recycling is to be able to justify to the consumer that this product is good.
If they don't want it, where does it go? Well, as a matter of fact, a lot of our plastic goes to Asia.
Shiploads of our plastic garbage is going over there. And the reason it's going over there is it's yucky to reprocess it. It's technically impossible to really recycle it. It's dirty and stinky and gross, and we don't want that stuff here.
What they do is they take it into a big yard and they pop it open, and they have people working under very low wages with very bad working conditions, and they will cherry pick out the things that they can melt down and do something with. But the human rights and labor issues related with that, and the toxicity issues of some of the open plastic melting that they do, to me, those do not fit in a recycling model.
Recycling can't do everything for us. It's more important to reduce what we consume and to reuse things that have already been made. But even more important is this fourth R, which comes ahead of these three, and it's redesign. Redesigning goods to last longer, to contain fewer toxins, and to be easier to take apart and rebuild or repair.
Michael Braungart is a German chemist well known for his cradle-to-cradle concept.
So you define everything, no longer from cradle to grave, but from cradle to cradle. So you always plan the next life of a product in it.
We have this idea that our worth as a nation is based on gross national product, and that consumption and a high standard of living equals happiness.
The number one thing that makes people happy is the strength of our social relations. If we stop putting so much of our life energy into getting more and more and more stuff, and we take it out of that system and plug it into our communities and our families and friends, not only do we create less waste, but we actually have more fun.
Buy less stuff. That is the simplest thing that I can say to people.
How about not using something that needs to be disposed of or dealt with in the first place?
Use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. If you don't need it, don't buy it.
We think of a lot of plastic products as being cheap and disposable. If it breaks, no problem, just get another one. But here's the thing, disposable plastic isn't really that cheap. Someone has to pay, whether it's the cost of making it, transporting it, or the cost of throwing it away. And how about the unquantifiable amount it costs when plastics end up loose in the environment? Who pays for that?
So I recently found out that there is all this trash sitting in the middle of the ocean. And a lot of this trash is plastic. And my first thought was, well, all right, but I didn't do that. Where does that trash come from? Trash gets loose on the land, it blows into a river, and the trash goes into the ocean. So that is our plastic out there. And there's a lot of it.
People ask me, why should I care about the ocean? It seems so obvious. The ocean is the cornerstone of Earth's life support system. It shapes climate and weather. It holds most of life on Earth. 97% of Earth's water is there. It's the blue heart of the planet. We should take care of our heart. It's what makes life possible for us. We still have a really good chance to make things better than they are. They won't get better unless we take the action and inspire others to do the same thing. No one is without power. Everybody has the capacity to do something.
How bad is the situation with plastic in the ocean?
I think it's bad because it's unnecessary. It doesn't have to be there. There are clear environmental consequences in terms of we know that over 260 species are affected by plastic debris through entanglement and ingestion. So just based on the statistics of production, how we've gone from 500,000 tons of plastic per year produced in the 1950s to over 260 million tons today. To put that into context, okay, the first decade of this century, by 2010, will have produced more plastic than we produced in the whole of the century that preceded. And most of that material is going to make throwaway items that are then ending up in landfill or the ocean.
You guys have been hanging out here on the beach. 80% of all marine debris actually starts from a land-based source. All drains do lead to the ocean. We dump things, they end up going down a storm drain or into a wetland, going down streams and rivers straight into the Atlantic or Pacific Ocean.
It's estimated that about 6 million pieces of litter enter the oceans every day, and that the majority of this is plastic.
Camilo Beach has a very white sand look, and it's not really sand at all. It's mostly white plastic covering the beach, sometimes up to a foot thick of plastic pieces.
Wait a second, this is Hawaii? I've seen pictures of Hawaii. Hawaii is beautiful. This is not what a beach in Hawaii is supposed to look like.
There's just far too much of it in our ocean right now, and what is washing up on our beaches is a small indication of what's really out there.
Mainly what we find are fragments of plastic, stuff like this. And all this debris is coming from the North Pacific Subtropical Gyre, or the Great Pacific Garbage Patch.
There are actually 5 major gyres, swirling systems of currents in our oceans. 1 in the Indian Ocean, 2 in the Atlantic Ocean, and 2 in the Pacific Ocean. The gyre that has been studied the most is the North Pacific Subtropical Gyre, otherwise known as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Estimated to be anywhere from twice the size of Texas to the size of the entire United States. Debris of all kinds floats into this gyre, and there it stays, swirling. Now, the problem is that when this debris is made of plastic, it doesn't biodegrade, it photodegrades. That means that sunlight breaks it down into smaller and smaller pieces, which marine life can mistake for food. So what exactly does this garbage patch look like? We went to the Algalita Marine Research Foundation for some answers. They have spent over a decade studying plastic in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It's not a floating island of trash that can be cleaned up or scooped out. It's way worse than that. It's tons of little bits of plastic floating underwater, like a plastic soup.
This is our thickest sample yet.
We've been finding more plastic by weight than plankton, and the ratio keeps going up. That's our concern.
Over the years, they have seen in their trawls through the patch plastic to plankton ratios that have gone from 6-to-1 to as high as 40-to-1. What that means is that in some parts of the ocean, there is now 40 times more plastic than food.
No bueno.
To raise awareness about plastic in our oceans, Dr. Marcus Erickson and a fellow scientist decided to set sail across the Pacific on a boat made of plastic.
Hi.
Hi, Dr. Erickson. Why exactly are you making this trip?
Well, the point is to get the nation talking about how do we end the age of disposable plastics. We need to end this mass consumption of single-use plastic materials.
So the idea here is to sail from California to Oahu on a boat made out of 15,000 recycled plastic bottles. Correct?
Exactly. And those bottles are held together by derelict fishing nets. Its name is junk because it's made of junk. So what has to happen is a global recognition that disposable plastics have no place in our environment.
According to Dr. Erickson, the plastic in the ocean is carrying toxins at high concentrations. Animals are then eating the plastic fragments. They think it's food. They just open up their mouths and take a big gulp. What amounts to a big gulp of persistent organic pollutants, or POPs. These are chemicals and toxins like DDT, DDE, and PCBs, among others, that latch onto plastics and become super concentrated. The plastic acts like a sponge.
And then when the plastics are mistakenly eaten by marine life, toxic chemicals go with them. When you eat a large fish like a swordfish, it might be the 5th step in the food chain because it's eaten a smaller fish that ate smaller fish and they ate zooplankton and eventually they ate phytoplankton. And at every step, you're getting a multiplication factor of 10 times or 100 times or even 1,000 times those chemicals. And the plastics are facilitating this. They sort of sop up the toxic chemicals and concentrate them in their flesh so that we can end up eating them on our dinner plates.
This is Midway Atoll, a tiny speck of land in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, where plastic is having a direct impact on the fate of the Laysan albatross.
Midway Atoll National Wildlife Refuge is home to the largest albatross colony in the world. These birds are fantastic flyers. They forage throughout the Pacific. But because they forage so far, they're really good indicators of the health of the Pacific and what's happening out there. In the 1950s, when people looked at dead albatross at Midway, they didn't see any plastic at all. And it wasn't until the 60s we started to see it at Midway and in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands. Every dead bird at Midway has plastic in them. So this is kind of the extreme, plastic everywhere and very little food. 19 caps of some sort, and then of the 19 there were about 14 bottle caps. The plastic they use for the top isn't recyclable right now, so maybe that's one of the reasons why you find so many plastic tops around.
The albatross that are surrounding us here today face numerous threats over the course of their life to successfully come back here and have chicks of their own. They've got to fly hundreds of miles to find food. They've got to survive for several years at sea. And the plastics in the ecosystem are just another hurdle in that path to come back here.
All the plastic that you see here was brought to the island by an adult albatross and fed to a chick. We can calculate how much plastic is brought to Midway each year by the adult albatross, and it comes out to be 5 tons of plastic. That's every year, 5 tons.
What's happening to Midway will soon be happening around the globe unless we change the way that we operate as a people. And he totally agrees. He thinks that was very well stated, I know.
It's not just albatross that are feeling the effects of plastic in our oceans. Over 260 marine species are being impacted by plastic, either through ingestion or entanglement. This 26-foot-long bride's whale was stranded on a beach in Australia and died. It was found that the whale's stomach was packed with over 19 square feet of plastic. In fact, it is estimated that plastic kills 100,000 marine animals each year.
Just about every big animal in the ocean is down 90%. Animals aren't going to be fine unless we figure out how to help them. But imagine if every morning your breakfast was a bowl of cereal and half the stuff in the bowl was little styrofoam balls and half of it was cereal. In some parts of the ocean, there's enough plastic out there that animals are eating a lot of it, and it's not good.
Sea turtles are fascinating animals that have been on our planet since the time of the dinosaurs. But now all sea turtle species in U.S. waters are listed as threatened or endangered under the Endangered Species Act.
They just eat what's out there, and not that long ago, everything that they would find was edible, or at least biodegradable.
If you can envision what a plastic bag would look like floating in the ocean, it looks like a jellyfish, and many sea turtle species eat jellyfish.
It's another no from the plastics industry to be interviewed in our film. So far, everybody from the plastics industry has declined to be in our film, even the ones that we interviewed. See, Jeb, this marine debris issue's gotten way overblown. To say, oh, we cut open a dead animal and we found a bunch of plastic fragments in it and therefore the animal died because of plastic? How do we know that the animal wasn't sick and dying and that it just ate a bunch of plastic at the end of its life because it was sick and dying? Did they do a toxicology autopsy on it? No, they don't do that on animals, they do that on people.
When scientists are conducting necropsies, which are animal autopsies, they're finding that sea turtle stomachs are full of tiny little pieces of plastic. Some sea turtle species, like the Pacific leatherback, it's estimated that they could go extinct within the next couple of decades. We're really in a position where every dead sea turtle counts, and we need to do whatever we can to keep them alive and to recover healthy sea turtle populations.
Here's a question I've got. When did they start doing this on milk and juice? It's supposed to open like this. I don't get it.
There's really no cleaning it up. I've heard the scenario that to clean up the North Pacific Gyre, it would be akin to vacuuming the entire continental United States 3 times over. That's a monumental task, so we're stuck with that plastic in the ocean as it is.
Although there's no real way to clean all this plastic out of the ocean, some people are at least trying.
We've been out here for approximately 2 weeks now on our marine debris trip. We do this every year in conjunction with NOAA. We brought 2 cargo containers because that's what they filled last year. There's so much debris this year that we're gonna overflow the 2 containers that we brought. I think maybe if people saw the amount of debris that we collected in these quantities, it would make them think twice about the amount of plastic they use in their daily life.
We need help from industry and people involved in product and packaging design to help with material reduction. Reducing the quantities of plastic that we use for single-use, one-trip items and then they're thrown away. And that's, to my mind, a third of all the plastics we make. That's what we're using them for. That's the area that really needs to be targeted if we want to help to reduce the problems of contamination of the marine environment.
Nature solves its problems. And if we're a problem, nature will solve us as a problem. To be an environmentalist, to be a conservationist, is really a question of self-preservation. We're really working to make sure that we survive. The Earth will survive, but if we don't learn to live in harmony with its ecosystem, then we will simply disappear.
Even though we can't clean up what's already in our oceans, we can make sure that we do all we can to not add more to it.
Can I use my own container?
Yes. If plastic is affecting our oceans so dramatically, could it be impacting human health? And what about our child?
I'll take the free-range chicken. I've never been one of those people that worried about chemicals and toxins and stuff. I thought it was a little bit overboard. But when you're going to have a baby, you do start to worry about that kind of thing. And you start to look around your house at the stuff that you have, the stuff that's for your baby, that's going to go on your baby's skin, and the stuff that people start giving you for your baby. I don't even know what kind of chemicals are in this stuff.
All day long you're getting exposed to very small amounts of many different things, and each industry will say, oh, it's just a little bit of our chemical, but the problem is we think the cumulative impact during that whole day is what's causing that health effect in the human.
Basically, there are no requirements for testing chemicals for health and safety effects. The current regulation is so weak that the EPA tried to use this law to ban asbestos, and they failed.
There's something like 125,000 chemicals registered for use around the globe, and very few have been tested for their effects on human health.
The Europeans put in the program REACH, where chemicals had to be proven safe, instead of the reverse, where in our system, first they have to be proven harmful.
So a chemical is innocent until proven guilty.
In this country.
In this country.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't give chemicals the kind of rights that people get.
The chemicals we're testing for now include phthalates, which are chemicals that are used to soften plastic, bisphenol A, which is a chemical used to harden plastic.
Phthalates and bisphenol A have been getting a lot of attention lately because they're both known as endocrine disruptors, meaning they disrupt or inhibit our normal hormone function. Let's start with bisphenol A, otherwise known as BPA, which is a synthetic estrogen. BPA is the main component of polycarbonate, the hard clear plastic sometimes used to make such items as water bottles, food storage containers, sports equipment, and electronics. But wait, there's more.
So you think you'll avoid plastic and you'll do the right thing and you'll buy something that comes in a can, and then you find out that the can is lined with, guess what? You got it, plastic. And this plastic that lines this very can contains bisphenol A.
Which means it also lines soda, juice, and beer cans. And guess what else BPA is in? Infant formula can liners and baby bottles. That's right, baby bottles.
Bisphenol A exposure at phenomenally low doses during the early period after birth when babies are drinking infant formula laced with bisphenol A out of baby bottles made from bisphenol A. What you get is animals that are hyperactive and show learning impairment. Reminds you of a human condition called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. This is a poster chemical for that.
Basically, we have released a lot of chemicals into the environment that can interfere with the way our children are constructed from the moment of fertilization until they're born 38 weeks later. Not only health-wise, but also in the way they behave and in their intelligence.
Academic and government scientists are showing an array of harm of bisphenol A that is frightening to the brain, to the reproductive system. And one of the things you see happening with bisphenol A is gender neutrality.
That means our boys are becoming feminized and our girls are becoming masculinized. And furthermore, many scientists believe that BPA exposure is linked to prostate cancer, breast cancer, hypospadias, low sperm count, early puberty, uterine fibroids, miscarriage, polycystic ovary disease, obesity, type 2 diabetes, ADHD, and autism.
Right now, it is predicted that 1 out of every 3rd child, and if you're a minority, it's 1 out of every 2 children born, is going to develop diabetes sometime in their life. Autism, 1 in 150 children. This can't be genetic because it's happening too fast. And in most instances, they were rare disorders before the 1970s.
Of the more than 200 government-funded studies, 92% show harm related to BPA exposure. Of the less than 20 studies funded by chemical corporations, 0% show harm.
A Centers for Disease Control study detected BPA in the urine of 95% of adults sampled.
Those with the highest levels had more than twice the risk of heart disease and diabetes.
The FDA cites 2 studies, both of those studies funded by the plastics industry.
Scientists have measured BPA in the blood of pregnant women, in umbilical cord blood, and in the placentas, all at levels demonstrated in animals to alter development.
Where is the FDA?
We have an FDA warning to tell you about this morning.
In a shift in the agency's position, the FDA is saying the chemical is of some concern,
especially on the brain, behavior, and prostate glands in fetuses, infants, and young children.
The government agency is encouraging families to limit their children's exposure.
The American Chemistry Council says BPA is safe.
We're calling Rob Krebs from the American Chemistry Council.
Rob Krebs.
Hey, Rob Krebs, it's Jeb Barrier from the Baggett movie.
From the Baggett movie?
I emailed you a few weeks ago We're doing a documentary.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Jeff, I'm literally on the phone with someone else right this second.
Okay.
Can you shoot me an email again, just to remind me?
Okay, no problem. I'll email you again.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Honey,
Yes, dear.
I'm doing the dishes.
Thank you.
Because you are so pregnant.
There's certain plastic containers that we stopped getting. We kind of cut back on can usage altogether. We stopped reheating anything in plastic.
The other chemical we're concerned about, phthalates, is actually a family of chemicals. Phthalates are commonly found in polyvinyl chloride plastic, otherwise known as PVC. Phthalates are plasticizers that are used to soften plastic. They're used in a wide variety of products, anything from vinyl flooring and all other things vinyl, to personal care products, to children's toys.
You take a rubber ducky. In order to make that brittle material seem like rubber, you actually have to have more phthalate in it than you do polyvinyl chloride. When a baby puts that in its mouth, it's like a phthalate lollipop.
Phthalates have been linked to rhinitis, eczema, asthma, allergies, premature birth, obesity, premature breast development, thyroid dysfunction, insulin resistance, lower sperm counts, decreased sperm motility, shorter anogenital distance, undescended testicles, and smaller penis size. It's not just our Johnsons that are suffering, it's our swimmers as well. Over the past several decades, scientists have found that sperm counts have been dropping dramatically.
Paul McCartney knew about this far earlier. You know, yesterday, the second part, suddenly I'm not half the man I used to be. Yeah. There's a shadow hanging over. We're losing dramatically fertility. So taking us compared to our fathers, we're only half the men.
What we found with the human study is that the moms that had greater exposures to phthalates were more likely to have sons with feminized reproductive organs, was that those were at everyday levels of phthalates. Those were not unusual exposure levels. Those were the levels that people are being exposed to in the US today.
You're constantly being washed in phthalates every day. That chemical is not required to be on the label for any personal care product. So if you see fragrance on the label, that is often phthalates.
Basically, it's an industry loophole that prevents the consumer from finding out what ingredients are in the product. Fragrance can be a collection of hundreds of chemicals, or it might be just a handful. We really don't know.
One question that you may have is, are phthalates safe? The answer is yes. My name is Steve Rosado of the American Chemistry Council, and we represent the companies that manufacture a family of versatile chemicals called phthalates.
The University of Washington tested dozens of babies' urine and found the more of these baby products they used, creams, lotions, powders, shampoos, the higher their levels of man-made chemicals called phthalates. Phthalates are used in baby products to help the fragrance stay on the baby's skin.
Babies are not little adults. Nothing you learn about a chemical in an adult can be applied to tell you what that chemical will do in a baby.
This was pretty shocking news for Ann and me. I mean, wouldn't anyone want to err on the side of caution?
I had a question about one of your products. It's a baby lotion. It's called Grins and Giggles. I wondered if it has any phthalates in it. I'm on hold. The music's really nice, though.
Peter Coyote is a well-known actor. What most people don't know is that he's also a committed activist and has been for many years. He is one of few people in this country to have had his body burden tested. That's a test that identifies and quantifies hundreds of chemicals present in your body.
When the results came, I was really shocked, and then I was angry, because I had in my body stuff that should not be in a human being. And when I was reviewing it, I thought, quite literally, who gave these sons of bitches permission to poison the commons.
I decided to do my own body burden experiment. I wanted to see how much my levels of BPA and phthalates would go up simply by using normal, everyday, supposedly safe consumer products. I did a pre-test to find out what my normal levels were, and then I spent 2 days in a friend's apartment eating canned food, microwaving in plastic, using shampoo, lotion, deodorant, air fresheners. These are all products that will supposedly be safe for my baby.
You know, this place just kind of needed a little something. Air fresh. Freshen it up. About to shampoo with kids shampoo.
This is all stuff that people use pretty much every day.
This is my last supper. I don't get to eat like this very often. Ugh. I don't feel good.
At the end, I got tested again. By the way, whatever the levels are, they're reversible. So it's never too late to stop ingesting, absorbing, and inhaling these chemicals. And now we're just waiting for the results.
Hi, Catherine. It's Jeb Barrier calling you back from the movie Bag It, the documentary about plastic. And I'm really hoping to get an interview with you specifically about BPA and phthalates.
We are keeping chemicals afloat in our environment in the face of overwhelming scientific evidence from other countries, because the information is being systematically withheld from us. Who are the people that allow this? They're supposed to be our leaders. They're supposed to be mediating between the needs of the citizens and the needs of the corporations, not giving the corporations everything they ask for and asking the citizens to pay the bills. If you don't want a deadly poison in the biosphere, you don't make it. Period. End of story.
Okay, I finally got my results. It's 144 pages of numbers. So, I am at the house of Dr. Theo Colborn, world-renowned environmental health analyst, and she is going to help me decipher what my test results mean.
Your results were very interesting. Why don't we start with bisphenol A?
Okay. So, my BPA level went up 110 times.
Yeah, that is high. I'll be quite frank with you. You really spiked. Now, these are the phthalates. This one went up 53 times. Okay, now, here we are. This one went from 2.7 to 143. So if you sum this overall and then take the difference, you had about 11 times increase of phthalates.
If Anne, who's pregnant, had those levels, what would that mean for the baby?
Well, it could mean that that baby would be partially feminized. In other words, reduced anogenital distance, maybe a smaller penis.
Wow.
Yeah. I always feel uncomfortable talking to people who are expecting children or planning to have children, because this is the critical period from fertilization to birth. As a citizen, don't you feel that we have enough evidence now to say we should not be using this
Absolutely.
product?
I don't want any of these in my body. I don't want any of these in the mother of my child's body. I don't want them in my child's body.
No, they're going to be.
It's not about being against chemistry or against plastic. It's about being against stupid plastic, silly, stinking, toxic stuff.
When you reach the point where it becomes a public health issue, and this is a major public health issue at the population level, the government has to step in. But I will frankly say, government is no longer government, it's corporate control.
What we're asking for is for a law that will make sure that chemicals are tested before they go into products.
We want to be able to go to the store and buy any product. The products on the shelf should be safe for us.
We have lost a whole generation of children already because we haven't even begun to take action on one of these chemicals.
Though you may feel that going up against corporations is impossible and that government moves way too slowly, what we cannot forget is that we are the government, that we influence industry. Thanks to the outcries of concerned parents, a law was passed in 2009 banning 6 phthalates from children's toys, and due to consumer demands, Walmart and Toys R Us decided to remove all baby products containing BPA from their shelves. This led 6 different baby bottle manufacturers to completely remove BPA from their baby bottles.
I'm trying to find out if people in town would support a fee on paper or plastic shopping bags. I'm trying to find out if people in town would support a fee
on shopping bags?
Yeah, to keep people, to try and reduce the amount people use disposable bags.
Go big or go home.
This, here's what we're doing.
Bags.
Would you guys support some kind of measure in town?
Remember that part about how we were expecting a baby? Well, it's happening.
One love.
Have you had a mammogram?
One love. Carries on. One touch. One touch. Carries on.
Well, I did start out making a movie about plastic bags. But like any journey, things developed and changed along the way. It became about so much more. I still think plastic is an incredible substance, but it's not supposed to end up in our oceans or in our bodies. And just to make sure I really got all this, Anne got pregnant, and it became about the fate of our child and all our children. I'm still an average guy, but even average people can make changes. You know, everybody keeps asking me, so what can I do? Well, here are some things we've come up with while making this film. Things you can do too, starting today, right now. You can cut way back on single-use disposables. Don't drink bottled water. Choose products with less packaging. When you need something, buy it used. Think outside the bag. Bring your own container. Buy less stuff. Remember, recycling comes after reducing and reusing. And how about volunteering in your community to do litter cleanups? But most important, you can simplify your life. I keep coming back to how my grandparents lived. They didn't have all this plastic in their lives, but that didn't seem to make them any less happy. When it comes down to changing your life and living with less plastic, it's going to take some effort.
And look at that. Foam cups. Stay back.
We just have to rethink how we do things. It all comes down to common sense.
Well, there you have it. The end of one odyssey, the beginning of another. We've decided to live life with a little less plastic. How about you? Is your life a little too plastic? Because if it is, there's only one thing you can do about it. Bag it. All right. I think I got it that time.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
My eye, girl, I never loved one like you.
Man, oh man, you're my best friend. I scream it too, there's nothing there.
When
When the choice is paper or plastic, I say neither. Bring your own.
Buy bulk food, don't buy small packaged things, and suddenly your trash is really minimized.
Ain't nothing please me more than you. Let me come home.
Hey, look everybody. It's a single-use disposable plastic camera. Use it once and throw it away.
I put no plastic into microwave or an oven.
When you don't use a lot of plastic, you eat better.
That's my girl. You really should think when making decisions of how this is not only going to impact yourself and your children, but your children's children's children out 7 generations.
Look at that. No plastic bag in the bathroom garbage can. You don't need it.
Plastic's a useful thing, but single-use plastics is just instant garbage, and we don't need it.
Maybe you're forced to eat a plastic bag if you use one. So you know how the fish feel.
It's a good idea.
Let me come home. Home is wherever I'm with you.
I'm still waiting to hear back from the American Chemistry Council. I'm starting to think that maybe they don't want to talk to me. Babies don't come in plastic.